In the world of Dune, there was a crusade, not for land or water or oil, but for the right to remain human. They called it the Butlerian Jihad or the Great Revolt. A revolt against thinking machines, computers, AI conscious robots, all of it. Not even calculators made it out alive, so no more bahubis, unfortunately. These humans who survived it didn't mourn the machines, they expanded themselves instead. They cultivated their minds, they became mentats, navigators, they folded space with their biology. Humanity stopped advancing its systems and started advancing itself.
Come here, kneel.
They didn't call it a war, they called it a jihad. Webster defines jihad as a crusade for principle or belief, or if you trust the Googles more than the Websters, the spiritual struggle within oneself against sin. The rallying cry wasn't to smash up robots, it was to stop disfiguring the soul with the impulses of an animal caught in a trap.
Will gnaw off its own leg to escape. What will you do?
This is a prompt. This is a dream. This is an average of everything that has already happened, a winner from an AI-generated film festival, and this is Denis Villeneuve.
I love the color of the rock so much.
My favorite modern Hollywood filmmaker right now, and the director of Dune.
How much will it cost them, traveling all this way for this formality?
That is an excellent and very nuanced question, Duke Leto. It's completely understandable why you'd be concerned about the logistical overhead and financial implications of a Guild Highliner transport for a formal handover. Investigating the cost of Imperial formalities is a great way to better understand the socio-economic pressures of the Imperium. I've analyzed the Guild's current tariff rates.
You've reached your message limit. Please upgrade to our premium plan.
In this new age of generative AI, Dune makes me not worried. AI generation will probably get to the point where it can produce a shot as gorgeous as the sun cresting over the dunes of Arrakis. It might already be there. It will probably get to the point where it can generate a score as blood-pumpingly strange and awesome as Hans Zimmer's. It might get there with a production design that looks as lived in, as alien as Patrice Vermette's. Fine. But still, no algorithm will ever be able to make a Dune. Not because of how it looks, but because of what it is.
I'm writing this movie for a single audience member, which is me.
AI is a thievery machine built on the concept of good enough. It works by calculating the most likely next pixel based on a billion stolen human-made things. It has no skin in the game. It doesn't get sunburnt in a Jordanian? It has never woken up at 3 a.m. because it couldn't stop thinking about a shot. Dune oozes what I can only call movie magic. It's grand, it's loud, it's epic, it's weird. It's a massive Hollywood blockbuster that somehow never loses its craft. Not a single frame feels cheap, and I don't mean cheap in the budget sense. I mean cheap in the human sense. In the sense of, did anyone actually care when they made this, or were they just filling a slot in a release calendar?
Reload!
Someone cared. A lot of someone's cared. While everything around it is being churned out, Dune was built. It's what devotion looks like when it has a shit ton of money.
Wingspans are 129 feet, and this one is 75 feet long, and 11 tons.
Let's look at a scene. The final duel. Paul versus Fade Ralpha. A fight scene. On paper, it's the moment you can get away with just making it look cool and calling it a day. It's the part where an AI would just make everything bombastic, loud, maximalist everything because that's the pattern. That's what the data says a climax looks like. But Denis Villeneuve is not an algorithm. He's a craftsman. And if you look closely at this fight, in the language of the camera, you'll see exactly why the machines have already lost.
I make a movie, I put my life into it. So when I see that my colleagues are ready to go all the way with me and give everything, it brings tears in my eyes. I mean, it's like that's the joy of filmmaking, the collective act of creativity. And when I feel that energy, it's very rewarding.
Before we get into this scene, I need to briefly, and I promise briefly, talk about the 180-degree rule, so bear with me. In any given scene, filmmakers establish an imaginary line usually drawn nose to nose between characters. The camera lives on one side of the line, that's it, that's the rule. It exists so your brain doesn't have to work overtime figuring out where everyone is in space, so you can just feel the scene instead of decoding it. Simple enough when it's two people chilling on a couch or talking at dinner. Genuinely nightmarish when it's a royal duel in front of a few hundred Fremen, a captured emperor, a scary Bene Gesserit Reverend Mother, and one guy who just declared himself God. Breaking the 180 creates disorientation. Done badly is just confusing. Done intentionally by someone who knows exactly what they're doing, it's a strong weapon. As the saying goes, know the rules so you know how to break them.
I'm so sorry. 9 or 10.
Keep that in your back pocket, we'll need it.
Warships.
And right away, Denis and co are cooking. 3 distinct close-ups, 3 pieces of information, 1 small pan, and a shift of focus. 1 shot. Most directors would do 3 shots on this. It's Spielbergian in its economy, maximum information, minimum fuss. Then we just hold on Paul. That's it. We hold. He knows what he's about to do, or more precisely, what he's about to start. And they let it sit there and breathe instead of cutting away because God forbid we sit with something for more than 2 seconds nowadays. He looks past the camera, past us, at Chani. He's about to break her heart. He's about to become everything she warned people about, and he knows it.
This isn't over yet.
Zendaya, I mean, come on! This is where the scene earns the word cinema. Close up, cut, close up. No dialogue, not a single word exchanged, and yet we know exactly what's being said. This is film at its most fundamental. Moving pictures telling a story that language would only diminish. You could write a monologue here, but they don't. Because Denis understands what Scorsese meant when he said cinema is a matter of what's in the frame and what's out. And here's the thing about Dune that I think gets lost in all the discourse about its scale. Yes, it's a spectacle. Yes, it's explosions and sandworms and the most impressive production design of the last decade, but it never lets that spectacle get in the way. It never forgets that underneath all of that, film is just moving pictures, and moving pictures, when handled by people who actually love them, is enough.
You're facing a full invasion, Fremen.
We open on Chani, not Paul. That's a choice. That's someone deciding consciously, deliberately, that the emotional anchor of this scene isn't the man becoming a god, it's the woman who loves him watching him do it, wondering whether he had to. Paul turns, and the cut doesn't go to the Emperor, it goes to Princess Uralon. If you know where the story is going and what Paul is about to propose, that cut is almost cruelly genius. The filmmakers have planted the knife before Paul has even reached for it.
Atreides, Duke of Arrakis. Gurney, my lord, send a warning to all ships. If the Great House is attacked, our atomics will obliterate all spice fields.
Gurney looks at the Emperor. No line, no speech, just a look. But that look says you killed my Duke, you destroyed my family, and I've dreamt for this moment.
You're out of your mind.
He's bluffing.
Consider what you're about to do, Paul Atreides.
Silence!
This is a certified, oh, hell yes moment. And the cut to Fade's reaction is, yes, a meme, but it's a great cut. Fade is almost into it. There's something almost perverse in his admiration, like he suddenly realized this fight might actually be worth having.
Abomination.
We cut to Jessica kind of going, bitch, what's good?
I'll take the hand of your daughter.
Here's the turn. This, I think, is what Paul was sitting with earlier. Before they walked in, before he looked at Chani, he knew this moment was coming.
I'll take the hand of your daughter. She will remain safe, and we will rule together over the Empire.
The cut to Zendaya here is devastating. Embarrassed, ashamed, furious, all of it in 3 seconds. All of it without a word.
But you have to answer for my father.
The cuts to Gurney and Jessica aren't decoration, they're doing work. Paul's motivations are genuinely messy, maybe even to himself, but theirs aren't.
I killed him because he was a man who believed in the rules of the heart.
Our first extreme close-up, and it lands on the Emperor mentioning Duke Leto, Paul's father. The camera moves in because the world just got smaller. All the politics, the prophecy, the holy war, just a second, it collapses down to a son and a dead father. Paul doesn't say much in response. He doesn't need to.
Stand or choose your champion.
I'm here, Atreides. I need a blade.
Except mine.
May thy knife chip and shatter.
May thy knife chip and shatter.
Okay, the 180 rule. Here's where we are spatially. The line runs between Paul and Fade. The camera has been living on this side of it, establishing the geography, making sure you always know who's where. A lot of cuts, a lot of movement, but I bet you weren't lost. And if you were, then that's awkward, but I don't think you were. That's the rule working. That's invisible craft. The editing here is doing something almost musical. We cut from a close-up to Fade, do the same shot slightly wider, then wider again, then flip to the reverse. It's about 4 cuts in 4 seconds and it feels rhythmic. It has a pulse. The sound design is the drummer keeping the time and the editing is the melody on top of it. Same technique like a zoom made of cuts. I don't have a more sophisticated way to say it. It's just the right edit. Widest we've been. A breath. Paul has won the first exchange, but the fight is about to shift, and watch what the camera does when it happens. We crossed the line! We are now technically on the wrong side. The 180 rule has just been broken, and it works. It works so well it gave me little goosebumps the first time I caught it because I'm weird like that. By this point, Denny has established the space so thoroughly, so patiently, that we know exactly where we are even when we're thrown to the other side of it. The line cross doesn't disorient, it propels. Feels like the momentum of the duel just picked us up and threw us, like Paul's counterattack had enough force to move the camera. This wasn't an accident caught in the edit. They made a conscious decision that this was the moment to break the rule, and exactly how to break it so it reads as energy instead of air. More importantly, it's storytelling. The duel is shifting, and now it's Fade's turn to whip some ass. That's the difference between knowing the rules and understanding them. Watch how we get back across the line. It's not another rule break. The newly established sightline holds. Camera finds its way home without cheating. It's just really, really smart blocking and shot design. The edit starts closing in on Paul. Cut closer, then closer. The frame tightens as its options do. The world is shrinking around him. He might lose. I know I should just shut up and let the scene play, but I just can't, okay?
She's your pet?
It's not a visual effects showcase, it's a pan. The camera operator had to pan up at the exact right moment with Austin Butler as he looks behind him with the focus puller, the first AC, shifting focus, aka glass, inside the lens, literally, moving quickly enough from Chani to Fade right before he looks back at Paul. That's the stuff rarely anyone in the audience notices. You're too deep in the story to notice the craft, which means the craft did its job perfectly. Means that the camera team is locked the fuck in.
She's your pet?
Uralon, we cut to her as she understands fully that she is a political instrument in this new world. She sees it in his eyes before he said a word. The cut says it for him.
Any special attention for the pet?
Hell yes! The killing of Jamis in part 1 was one of the first big steps towards becoming the Lisan al-Gaib. We love a thematic callback. We cross the line again, very briefly and very aggressively, and this time it's disorienting. The cuts are fast, the cross is sudden, it's controlled chaos, baby. Paul just got stabbed, the grammar of the scene breaks because the duel just broke. It's the filmmaking matching the story, beat for beat. Reaction shots, one after another with still no music. Paul's visions may have been wrong, Paul might be confident in what must happen, but the people around him sure aren't. Then biggity bam, he kills Fade. And can we take a moment to appreciate how he kills Fade using the same maneuver Gurney taught him in part 1?
I have you.
Aye. But look down, my lord. You'd have joined me in death. I see you found the mood.
Listen, Al-Gaib!
The reaction cuts that follow are some of the best in the film. Jessica, Chani, Gurney, relief that crashes immediately into complicated truth of what the relief means. Then the Emperor and Urulon, and reality arrives. This shot makes me cry myself to sleep. One of Denis' greatest adaptation choices, maybe the best choice, was expanding Chani. In Herbert's novel, she is, to be honest, pretty one-note. Here, she is the conscience of the entire story. And in this single shot, she holds relief and longing and grief and the specific heartbreak of loving someone who just chose to become something you warned them and everyone around you about. The music arrives full force. He's officially the Kwisatz Haderach now. Thing that was coming has arrived.
The throne will be yours.
There is, buried in the sound mix here, the faint sound of an ocean. Arrakis has no ocean, the Doi, but Paul's vision showed one.
This Al-Gaib will change the face of Arrakis. He will bring back the trees, he will bring back a green paradise.
It's such good storytelling through subtractive sound design. That is not AI. That is not an algorithm predicting the next likely sound. That is a human being making a creative decision that's worth busting a nut over. One shot, one frame. The Fremen bowing to their Lisan al-Gaib, the Emperor's court bowing to their new ruler. And in the middle of all that, Chani and Urulon. The only two people in the room who are not bowing. The woman who loves him and the woman who will marry him, standing together in their different kinds of refusal. Scorsese said cinema is what's in the frame and what's out. I have this really cool coffee table book, The Art and Soul of Dune Part 2, put together by Tanya Lapointe, a producer of Dune and Denis' partner. She said it took 10 days to shoot the duel. That's 10 days of some of the most talented actors sitting around watching Timothée Chalamet and Austin Butler go at it, who spent weeks learning that choreography, weeks of becoming these people physically, and by the time the cameras rolled, they were moving so fast they couldn't read what was happening on camera, so they had to slow down. They were constantly pushing each other, taking it to another level, to quote the book. The set for the scene alone took 22 weeks to build, one set of dozens, and the doors leading into the room are the same doors to Leto's office in part 1. Some cool little storytelling right there.
One thing leads the way.
And the lighting? You canvas sunset run 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, so Greg Fraser and his team had to build a sun. 800 lights were used. Patrice Vermette, the production designer, then, inspired by a technique used for stage productions, made a white silk curtain to cover the rigging system that still let the light through, which could be raised or lowered depending on the camera's position. All this wasn't some reluctant fallback. Every desert scene in Dune was shot in a real desert, Jordan, Abu Dhabi, actual sand, actual sun. As Denis put it, so when you can't bring the sunset to set, you build one. You do whatever it takes to keep the promise you made to the film.
You don't have electricity and water and stuff like that, so we have to provide all of that stuff and figure out how do we move around 1,000 people in the desert every day to 2 or 3 locations at once. It's quite a big unit.
Take the opening sequence of part 2. Denis wanted it to open on an eclipse, even though the scene was originally written as a night scene. Denis changed it because in his words, he wanted it to bring a frightening surreal look, something that would disorient the audience the same way Paul is disoriented. The striking red images were also his way of avoiding what he called the feeling of putting on a cold, wet swimsuit. He wanted you thrown back into Arrakis. Problem is, you can't just find an eclipse either. So Greg Fraser used Unreal Engine, photogrammetry, drones, and ground LiDAR scanning to map the desert and calculate the exact time of day each shot needed to be filmed at each specific location. That's doing your math homework until 9 p.m. while your friends are outside playing. But the grades don't lie. They shot across 12 different areas of Jordan and the UAE. 12, for what feels on screen like one continuous, unbroken area of the desert. Months of planning just so when they finally got to the sand, they knew exactly how every piece would cut together. For this Lady Jessica sequence, for example, he identified the precise date, time, and location where the sun would appear directly behind Rebecca Ferguson as she smashed a dude's face in. Then the movie gods doing what the movie gods do, a real partial eclipse happened on October 25th, 2022 while they were shooting in Jordan. The moon covered 35% of the sun. Not enough to darken the sky, but enough to point a camera upward and capture it. That footage is in the film. Second moon was added later by the VFX team, but the real one, that's just the universe deciding to show up for work. You cannot prompt your way into that story.
It's your ability to prompt it that actually produces a result. And so prompting is in fact going to be a creative commodity and across many, many, many different aspects of storytelling.
Anyway, a mega ass ton of lights to recreate the sun. All of that for a 10-minute scene, so why? Why spend 44 days shooting a worm riding sequence that needed its own dedicated unit, aka the worm unit, led by Tanya LaPointe with a 90-foot practical worm, real sunlight, real sand, gallons of it blasting at real actors.
All actors who do sandworm writing on the film went to the Denis Villeneuve sandworm writing school because no one was in better position to teach sandworm writing than he was because he grew up with the books.
Why shoot Getty Prime in infrared instead of just black and white? It was a genuine risk at this budget level, and it made life harder for costume designer Jacqueline West, whose fabric photographed completely wrong, turning fabrics white that were supposed to be black, forcing her to rebuild and retest every piece from scratch. More work, more money, more time. All because they didn't want a gladiator scene in the sand that looked like Arrakis, or more importantly, something you've seen before. Oh, and Harkonnens look like evil Mr. Clean, so them living under a black sun makes complete ecological sense because Dune is a story about the environment dictating culture. It's the most Dune shit you could Dune.
I'll never give your water away, not even for the dead.
Why, for the atomic vault scene, fly in specialist riggers from the UK to build a 4-story staircase up a rock face? $30,000 for a location scout. Production designer Patrice Vermette was so convinced Denis would love it that he greenlit the staircase before Denis had even seen the location, knowing that if Denis didn't choose it, that entire rigging system would have been used once and dismantled. He chose it. It made the cut.
Spectacular. It's a dream.
Why care about the 180 when nobody notices anyway? Why obsess over the rhythm of the edit when you could just make it not boring? Why care how the sun hits the sand when you can fix it in post? Why build sets at this scale with this much thought? Why create new instruments? Why shoot in a real desert when you have green screens and a deadline? Why care this much? Why go to the moon? That's why. That spark. The one that put us at the top of the food chain. It's the act of doing something not because it's easy, but because it'll be sick as shit if we pull it off. That's movie magic. It's being so absorbed in that screen you forget the pile of dishes at home. It's seeing something you've never seen before and feeling your chest crack open a little because of it. Denis Villeneuve drew storyboards for Dune when he was just 13 years old. He's dreamed of making this movie since he was a teenager. 40-something years later, he made the movie. Not because he was born into Hollywood blood and connections. He's a French-Canadian kid from a small town in Quebec who made weird short films and even weirder feature films. Then on Sundays, soul-crushingly beautiful, proof that he understood the power of a camera and how to live in the gray. Prisoners, proof that he could work in Hollywood without losing his voice. Sicario, proof he can work with a budget, with action, with tension. Arrival, proof that he understands the power and awe of sci-fi. Blade Runner 2049, proof that he can be handed IP and elevated. Dune, proof that this motherfucker is just getting started. And here's the thing about Denis that I think gets at something important. The choices he makes aren't always the logical ones. They're not the safe ones. They're not the ones the data would recommend. They're gut choices. They're the choices of someone who has watched thousands of movies in the dark and developed something that lives below logic. A physical sense of what's right. Not right because it follows the rules, right because something in his chest says so. Pick my favorite shot from Prisoners. It's a pushing on a tree that makes no sense, but it feels right, and it's perfect in the context of the movie.
I will say that I'm an anxious human being, but when it comes to cinema, there's something about a certainty, I just see what I need to do, and it's clear, the path is clear for me. So when I decided to do Dune, I said I didn't thought about a second about what has been made before.
That's what Greg Fraser is doing when he chooses infrared over black and white. That's what Jacqueline West is doing when she rebuilds every fabric from scratch because it has to be correct. That's what the focus puller is doing when he shifts glass at the exact right moment for a shot that almost nobody will consciously notice. None of that is in any dataset. It breathes in the hands, the failures, the obsessions, 40 years of a kid who drew a dream in a notebook. Dune is what happens when you give a room full of people like that a budget, step back, and let them do what they do best, create. It is, I genuinely hope, one of many in a long and rich movie history, and not one of the last. I hope that spark, the one that drew those storyboards, that built that staircase, that moved too fast for the camera, has the maturity to look at what's coming and pause.
Cloud computing company has notified thousands of employees that their jobs are being cut as it seeks to broaden its AI investment.
In terms of the results for Q3, we had a tremendous quarter that exceeded expectations across the board.
If you write an email or ask some questions, if you have 10 to 50 queries, you're going to be consuming roughly 500 milliliters of water.
The International Energy Agency has said electricity demand for AI-optimized data centers is expected to increase by 400% by 2030.
Utah snowpack has hit a record low average, according to data from the USDA.
Utah could soon be home to one of the nation's most advanced data centers.
The only thing missing for the Great Pyramid of Giza to function as a power plant was a source of energy.
I didn't know that people so long ago would be able to make electricity and use modern technology.
The photos and stories are designed to steal your heart. This post about a young white woman who adopts an abandoned black baby, working 3 jobs to raise him on courage and unconditional love. The boy growing up to be a kind, brilliant young man who got into Harvard. The story has been viewed more than 28 million times with nearly 500,000 likes.
I've gotten like 1.5 billion views in a month from just Facebook.
As fighting intensifies in the Middle East, people are turning to social media for instant information. But it's fast become a sewer for fake news. Take, for example, this video of a space carrier hitting a Japanese battleship from World War II. In 48 hours, it's been viewed by about 5 million people around the world.
Real-time movies and video games. Real-time video generation, I think, is where things are headed.
Elon Musk's AI chatbot Grok coming under fire from regulators across the globe over a rise in non-consensual and sexualized deep-fake images of women and children.
We could build social media that learned exactly what kept humans' eyes glued to a screen. Turns out it's outrage, loneliness, and division. We built it anyway.
Your behaviors, you don't realize it, but you are being programmed.
Billions of us handed over our attention, our mental health, and called it innovation, then handed it to our children. But hey, record profits this quarter. We could make an indestructible cheap material. Now there's microplastics in malls and a floating garbage continent in the Pacific. Progress. We could build the atomic bomb, the physics worked, the engineering somehow worked. We didn't stop to fully reckon with what we were making until 2 cities were gone. Then we made enough of them to end the world several times over. Whoops. Just because we could doesn't mean we should. Just because we can create AI doesn't mean we should embrace it. Maybe I'm being fearful. Fear, after all, is the mind killer. But I'm not afraid of a robot uprising. That at least would make a good movie. I'm afraid of the slow, voluntary extinguishing of the human spark. A generation that never knows what it feels like to make something bad for years before they make something true. That never draws the storyboard. That never has anything to regret, or worse, feel proud of.
What do you think young Denis Villeneuve in the video store would think of this film?
Honestly, I will say, he will say not bad, not bad.
No fingerprint to leave on this world, just stains where a fingerprint should be. Because as Jama says,
the mystery of life isn't a problem to solve, but a reality to experience.